Hello, my name is Grace Eubanks, and welcome to my global organization presentation. I chose to present on the Salvation Army. Here we have the slogan and the logo. The slogan is doing the most. Good. So what is the Salvation Army? The Salvation Army is an evangelical Christian organization that was founded by Catherine and William Booth in year 1865. William Booth was an ordained Christian minister, preacher, and he started this group and dedicated it to preaching among the unchurched living people in the midst of appalling poverty in London's East End. Booth's ministry recognized the interdependence of material, emotional, and spiritual needs. In addition to preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ, Booth became involved in the feeding and shelter of the hungry and homeless and in rehabilitation of alcoholics. So here we have a photo of one of the first photos when the organization was getting started of volunteers offering food to the unemployed and the homeless people. And here's a picture of William and Catherine Booth themselves. Here's some statistics that represent the global significance this organization has. Keep in mind these statistics are accounted for the organization taking place in the United States, and this organization isn't only in the United States, it's in 128 countries in the world, across the world. So these statistics specifically state there's over 3 million volunteers that help out yearly. There's been over 555 hours served by local volunteers through this year that these stats were taken in Central Texas. So this is just a snapshot into what this organization does. And it has been serving the United States for 130 years. This organization is very globally significant because of the sheer broadness that it has around the globe. So next we have the evaluation of this organization and what strategies it utilizes. There's cultural, relational, traditional, and network strategies of organization. So first I labeled cultural strategy of organization as number 1 for the Salvation Army. Cultural strategies of organizing adopt the views of both traditional and relational strategies, and they strive to integrate concepts of the individual by recognizing emotional ties both to one's organization and to one's coworkers as powerful influences in how people choose to act and communicate, as stated in Conrad and Pohl, Chapter 5. So for the Salvation Army, the culture of it is an evangelical part of the Universal Christian Church. It's based on the Bible, and its mission is to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ and to meet human needs in his name without discrimination. The Salvation Army strives to integrate concepts of the individual, of their faith and their spirituality, and their physical and material needs. And so what it does is it passes on this image of preaching the gospel and meeting the needs of others to its members, and its members then integrate that into how they serve and serve the people and the people who are receiving the services of the organization. The leadership also focuses on the transformational process through which leaders communicate that mission of meeting the needs of people and preaching the gospel to its members. So culture is plays a very big aspect in how this organization is organized from the roots. Secondly, in second place, we have relational strategy of organization, and I put this as number 2 because Salvation is a paramilitary organization, and the amount of headquarters that are all over the earth, there are teams that operate from those headquarters. So a key aspect of relational strategy is that teams work, they complete the work on their own. And so the Salvation Army is highly decentralized, which is also a very key aspect of relational. It's emphasizing local control. The main characteristic of relational strategy is decentralization. Work is done by teams, and those teams in the Salvation Army are called corps. The corps serve as the basic service unit and are building blocks of this organization. Another aspect of relational strategy that applies to the Salvation Army is the participatory decision making among lower level members, such as delegation and self managed teams, which also take place in the corps, like I've stated. So you have the soup kitchen team, the food feeding the homeless team. You have rehabilitation, for example, and you have the sheltering of homelessness. And so those are all separate teams, and those teams, they have aspects of self-management within them and delegation, which they delegate which tasks the members should do in those separate teams as they execute the services. Thirdly, we have the traditional strategy of organization. So a key element of traditional strategies is there are rules, rewards, and punishments. And for the Salvation Army, there are rules and there are punishments, but like this quote here says, there is no reward equal to that of doing the most good to the most people in the most need. So members of the Salvation Army are not actually rewarded. There's no for their work. Their reward is based upon the faith that it is good to help others. So there are rules, the code of conduct, which is to conduct oneself at all times with honesty and integrity, and to perform duties to the best of their ability, treat everyone with respect and dignity, honesty, fairness, and courtesy. And so the Army officers are bound to orders and regulations, as well as the code of conduct, and the violations will result in an investigation and disciplinary action, even termination. So traditional strategy is ranked third because in this organization, like I had said, there are rules and punishments, but no rewards set in place for the members. The management of this organization also occurs through informal and formal ways. Lastly, we have network strategy of organization. This is ranked last because the Christian mission of the Salvation Army is to help others, which is an offering of goods and services, and it isn't just a knowledge-based service that this organization is passing down. The good news portion is the only sort of information or knowledge that is passed down. The good news referring to the gospel of the salvation of Jesus. So also technology is not a main aspect of this organization structure because helping people is more of an in-person relational job. So technology is a large portion of the network strategy and it plays a big part in the shift from goods and services to the knowledge aspect of evolution of organizations. Leaders are more involved than symphony conductors, as stated in Conrad and Pohl, Chapter 6. The leadership structure is more of a top-down in case of managers. Here's an example of Salvation Army's leadership structure. There's general, commissioner, colonel, lieutenant colonel, major, captain, and cadet. And here are photos of badges that are awarded to those different positions. Next, we have our SWOT analysis, which goes over strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of the Salvation Army. Some strengths of the Salvation Army are its history. The Salvation Army has a long-standing history of success, which has built a good reputation and provided the organization with longevity and credibility. Another one of its strengths is its globalization. One of the largest national providers of welfare services, operating in 128 countries worldwide and over 3 million members. The Salvation Army is constantly offering new innovative products and services to areas of poverty. And another strength is the government funds and public donations. Some weaknesses of this organization could be its biases due to the Christian religion and the lack of diversity. Salvation Army aids in bridging the gap between homelessness and becoming a functioning member of society. Homeless people come in all different ethnicities and genders, but because of the culture of the Christian religion views of the organization, there could be a lack of support and representation of the gay community and the trans community. Funds are also another weakness. Due to the organization being primarily funded by donations, there are times where a lack of funds is possible, which affects the specific area in which the organization is helping. Lack of funds could come from tax inflation rates and a dip in the economy. Some opportunities of this organization are expansion. The Salvation Army has the ability to expand to more countries because the nature of the environment is that there will always be a need. Unfortunately, in this world, there are always people who are in dire need of housing, of food, and of help to rehabilitate from drug issues, alcohol issues. There's also abuse issues that people need refuge from. So, unfortunately, there will always be a need for people to be helped. So, that is an opportunity for this organization to expand their services and expand their outreach to reach those people who need it. Another opportunity is employment, and that goes hand in hand with the expansion. Because there is such a need, people in the world see that need, and there are always going to be people who want to volunteer and help out with that need and donate their time, donate their money, or obtain a work position in the Salvation Army, which opens the doors for creating more opportunities for growth. If there are more people on board and more people volunteering, then there is more opportunity for those to be reached and more hands to help. Another opportunity for growth is technology. With new technologies being created, there are more opportunities for rehabilitation programs to be implemented and networks of communication to advance. And lastly, we have threats. Some threats, common threats the Salvation Army nonprofit organization faces are changes to the laws or regulations in a certain region where the Army resides. Economic recessions, the volatile nature of the economy could produce a dip in donations due to a weak economy. This issue would call for creative ways of fundraising. Another threat is the rising of taxes. A rise in taxes could lead to fewer donors. And lastly, volunteers and staff could be unhappy and could quit their position, quit their volunteering for the Salvation Army. This is compatible by just basic treatment and good treatment of its members and its volunteers, and a good system in place with leaders who are effective and good at their job. So this concludes my presentation on the Salvation Army, the SWOT analysis, and the structural organization. So thank you so much for listening, and goodbye.